energy sector is going to be central to achieving the targets of emissions reductions. Now, I think all of this is possible because in the last decade and a half, we have seen an extraordinary and revolutionary change in energy systems around the world. The IRENA is a great organization. I was the founding director general of IRENA. I'm not praising myself, but it created the knowledge framework for how renewable energy average of about 80% in that time. We now routinely see renewable power generation projects coming in at around $4 US dollar cents per kilowatt hour. This is among the cheapest generation costs on grid anywhere in the world. In some places, like in the UAE, we have achieved below 2 cents. So it is positioned to move, but it requires a number of solutions. Solutions concerning financing, solutions concerning technology transfer, solutions concerning how do we build up the infrastructure, how do we create the regulatory framework around this. But most importantly, when we achieved these outcomes at the COP, we felt that we needed to have a reliable institution as a partner to monitor how these targets are being implemented and give us every year an analysis of where we are and what remains to be done. And of course, as the global agency for renewables, we asked IRENA to take this role. Now, looking at some of the projections, we see that renewables on a scenario with positive kind of expectations would take us to around 9.7 terawatts by 2030. To achieve the doubling target, we need just over 11 terawatts. So already in this scenario, which is entirely achievable, we are very close to the target. To achieve the target or even to surpass it, we need now to move other elements of the agenda forward. And this is why I really want to congratulate and we're so pleased that our brothers in Azerbaijan have selected the initiatives and pledges that you have, the Green Pledge and the Renewables Pledge, because I think that is the next logical step in the process, because you are addressing the critical issues of grid infrastructure and permitting, which is going to be central to achieving these goals. But you're also looking at how do we start to scale investment in emerging economies, which is going to be a critical part of the solution. That's where energy demand is growing, that's where emissions are growing, and that's where we need to focus. So we need to bring all of these elements together to create a new momentum, but I think we are on a very good path. We achieved the outcome we did under the global stocktake in COP28. We are having the next step here at COP29. And as the Troika with Brazil, we know that with the capabilities that Brazil will bring to the table next year, no pressure, Andre, that this momentum will continue. And it gives us a sense of optimism of what we can do. Too often, the climate debate is stuck in a kind of doom scenario. Everybody thinks that we are going to have all kinds of problems and issues. But at the same time, the narrative coming out of COP28 was, if we invest in the right way, we not only create economic growth and sustainability, but we create an infrastructure of prosperity for the future of our societies in a safe environment. So that's the objective. And let me thank IRENA for taking up this challenge. And we're looking forward to seeing their initial findings and over the next years to see how this target evolves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adnan Admin, for your optimistic vision to energy transition. And our last opening remarks to be delivered by His Excellency Ambassador Andrei Correa Dolago, Secretary for Climate, Energy and Environment, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, COP30 Presidency, Brazil. Please.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here in Baku and to be here at the launching of this report and complementing a little from the point of view of Brazil. We would like to stress how important this report is to give answers to mostly to middle-income developing countries. As Adnan was saying, this is where the emissions are going up. This is where we need to find new solutions. And somehow we, in Brazil, we have a very special circumstance because, as you know, when there was the decision to triple renewable energy, the Brazilians were saying, how are we going to triple? We have 90% of our electricity is already renewable and 49% of the whole energy is renewable. But it is a global vision, and that's what we had to explain. But more than that, I think that we have to remember that there is not only the dimension of substituting some energies that countries have, but also on what we have to add, because we have to supply much more energy, and we're seeing that we have new sectors that are consuming enormously energy and are looking for solutions, and obviously renewables would be their preference. And in the case of Brazil and other developing countries, is the opportunity that we can have a new kind of industrialization based on the fact that we can have energy that is renewable. And this is what mostly developing countries can offer. So there is an extremely positive dimension here, because instead of bringing a negative agenda, as you were mentioning, that sometimes is associated with that, no, this is one, the basic condition for a new industrialization that can be sustainable. Obviously, there are two concerns that are very clear in the report, and two concerns that are very strong for us in Brazil. The first one being obviously finance, the difficulties related to finance. And the other one is to make sure that we associate renewables with the just transition. We cannot allow that renewables are associated to an increase in the cost for consumers or in the cost for production. So I think that this debate is extremely important. The answers are here. As you were saying, the reduction of the cost of renewables is amazing. In the case of Brazil, we looked for hydro and to biofuels because we didn't have oil and we didn't have coal. So it was a necessity that we went to renewables. But today, renewables are the best possible option, and wind and solar in Brazil are already responsible for more than 20% of all our electricity. And biofuels and bioenergies every time more sophisticated, and hydro also, in spite of all the challenges regarding the rain and regarding all these concerns that we have about water, all these options balanced can offer solutions for most of the developing countries. So Brazil is very much ready on the preparation of COP30 to strengthen even more this agenda, and mostly to present solutions for developing countries, mostly for middle-income developing countries that have the first challenge, which is to fulfill the SDG 7, to make sure that people have access to electricity, but also to prove that we can do that in an extremely sustainable way. So this is a most welcome event, and we are very, very happy to be able to participate today and to contribute to this agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for this valuable insights. And now I would like to announce the session on launch of the pre-COP report. I will moderate this session. My name is Rana Umbatova, and I'm Deputy Director of Azerbaijan Renewable Energy Agency. And to announce launch of the pre-COP report, I would like to invite our distinguished speaker, IRENA Director General, Mr. Francesco Lacamera, who will provide a presentation on the report highlighting the implementation status of UAE Consensus Energy Sector Component and its enablers.
Thank you, Rana. And dear friends, on behalf of the International Renewable Energy Agency, I'm honored to welcome you all at the launch of our report, delivering on the UAE Consensus Tracking Progress. And this has been done in partnership with the Troika. So the three presidency of COP28, COP29, and COP30, and the Ministry of Energy of Azerbaijan, and the Global Renewable Alliance. The global energy transition is not just a technical or economic challenge, it's a moral imperative. As we gather here today, we are reminded of our commitments made under the Paris Agreement, a framework that remains the cornerstone of our collective fight against climate change. As IRENA, we want to renew and reaffirm our commitment to support our members and stakeholders to keeping global temperature rise within the 1.5 Celsius. It is not a distant target, but an urgent necessity, and it will require unwavering political will from all of us. The UAE consensus set at COP28 in Dubai provides a clear and achievable pathway to reach net zero emissions by mid-century. In early 2004, the COP28 Presidency asked IRENA, as has been remembered by none, as the custodian agency for tracking a key outcome of the first global stocktake agreed at the UAE consensus, which called on all partners to the UNFCCC to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030 and double energy efficiency. This report is the first of 7 editions that will track our progress this decade toward these vital goals. Limited global temperature by 1.5 above pre-industrial levels by the end of this century and delivering the Sustainable Development Goals will both require a rapid acceleration of the global energy transition. In 2023 was another record-breaking year for renewables. IRENA data show that 473 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity was added. This means 87% of newly installed capacity, bringing global renewable energy capacity by almost 3.9 terawatts. Despite this progress, global renewable energy capacity needs to reach 11.2 terawatts by 2030, meaning that more than 1 terawatt of renewable energy needs to be added each year between 2024 and 2030. Except for solar PV, capacity additions for all renewable energy technologies remain below the required levels. Annual capacity addressed for onshore winds need to expand by 3 times. offshore winds and bioenergy by 6 times, and geothermal by 35 times. Concentrated solar power and marine energy capacity will also need to increase significantly. The deployment of renewable power capacity also remains highly uneven. Asia, Europe, and North America accounted for almost 85% of global installed capacity at the end of 2023. Despite Africa's vast potential and energy needs, the region only accounted for 1.6% of the global share of installed renewable power capacity. The grave reality is that the energy transition and current ambition are not on track, and we are at risking of missing our goal. Currently, natural determined contribution, the NDCs, will only add 1.5 terawatt of renewable power capacity by 2030, when more than 7 terawatts is needed. National policies and plans, on the other hand, will deliver only half of the growth needed. Therefore, not only are ambition too low, but there is also a mismatch between NDCs and current national plan that must be addressed in the next round of the NDC next year. The so-called NDC 3.0 must more than double existing commitments, not just to meet climate pledge, but also socioeconomic objectives. For example, meeting the UAE consensus goal to triple renewable energy will benefit job creation, almost doubling existing renewable energy sector jobs to reach 30 million by 2030. In 2023, renewable energy employed a new record of 16.2 million. However, to continue achieving the UAE consensus goals, global investment are pivotal. Investment in renewable capacity reached a record of 560 billion in 2023, but 31.5 trillion US dollar investment is still needed by 2030 in renewables, grid flexibility, and efficiency. Current investment are highly uneven, as you can see, and concentrated in advanced economies. In 2023, Sub-Saharan Africa, home to 567 million people without access to electricity. Energy transition-related investment were 4 times less than the world average per capita. To support Africa's climate and development priority, IRENA, under the leadership of Kenyan President Ruto, has launched the Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energy in Africa, whose first investment forum will be convened in Nairobi from tomorrow to 16th of October. These are the data concerning what is needed in terms of investment. To keep the Paris Agreement goals alive, the world must significantly ramp up renewable capacity addition in the 6 remaining years of this decade. It is still possible to achieve this goal, but each year the target falls further out of reach. This will require immediate global action to overcome the structural and systemic barriers that impede progress. This means modernizing and expanding enabling infrastructure, enabling policy and regulatory framework that support the renewables era, and building institutional and human resources capability for the energy transition. We strongly believe and suggest that in the final declaration from this COP, try to go in deeper and more concrete action to be suggested for the NDCs. This area of this barrier should be really addressed if you want to make the difference. To overcome this barrier, policymakers must take urgent action across the main 5 enablers. These are the 3 infrastructure, the key barrier that I think we need to overcome if you want to accelerate the path. These are the structural causes to be still low, to be not fast enough. And these are the 5 enablers that we suggest to mention in the way of say, give guidance to the NDCs. First, policy and regulation need to be strengthened to enable the deployment of renewable and energy efficiency measures. Education, training, reskilling, upskilling should be prioritized to provide the human resources needed for the transition. Financing must be more accessible and affordable for developed countries. For achieving this goal will depend on stronger international collaboration. Groups as the G7 and G20 must mobilize more support. Finally, modernizing infrastructure development must be delivered urgently, including renewable generation and grid infrastructure, to support the ramping up of renewable power capacity to achieve the 2030 targets. Urgent collective action across these 5 enablers will give us the best chance of achieving climate, development, industrialization goals, and a more equitable world in line with the goals of the Paris Agreement. So, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me, at closing, thanks my friend, Minister of Energy Shapadov, for hosting us today. And in this Baku, that is one of my favorite towns, honestly. You look my Italian sea on this Italian town on the sea. So in some way, I look really close when I walk in the street here in town. So the energy target of UAE consensus are not merely ambitions. They are essential to the success of the Paris Agreement and the implementation of the EU consensus. Achieving them means accelerating our action and ensuring that our policies, investment, and partnership are aligned with this shared vision. But let's be clear, the time of our measures is over. The world is watching, and the decision we make today will determine the future of our planet and the prosperity of generations to come. Only by commitment to this bold action and overcoming structural and systemic barriers, we can ensure a sustainable future for all. I'm always saying in all forums I'm participating, I will do also today, that COP29 and COP30 will be the last COP that they can work on mentioning the fact that we have to keep the 1.5 alive. If we don't do a dramatic change in the way we are producing and consuming energy, this will be the last 2 COP. I encourage each to be asking for that. I encourage each of us to reflect on the gravity of our shared responsibility and honor the promise made in Paris by accelerating the global energy transition and ensuring that the outcome of the EU consensus are fully realized. Together we can, and we build a cleaner, more sustainable future for all, powered by renewable energy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. De Camera, for this outstanding work and the support to this renewable energy pledge. And now I am honored to provide to announce the high-level statement, and I'm honored to invite His Excellency Ms. Perviz Shahbazov to provide high-level statements from the part of the Ministry of Energy of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Mr. Minister, please, floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable guests, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, welcome to Azerbaijan. Today we are presenting a global report on tracking progress on UAE consensus energy deliverables. I would like to thank IRENA Director General, my dear friend, Mr. Francesco La Camera, for his leadership in preparation of this report. I'm also grateful to COP28 UAE and COP30 Brazil Presidencies, and Global Renewable Alliance for their contribution to the report and organization of this event. The report vividly showcases the need to increase our ambitions and actions in the fight against climate change, and of course in advancing further the energy transition. Tripling renewables capacity by 2030 and doubling the rate of energy efficiency by the same year of 2030 is not just a benchmark, but is the main pillar of a collective commitment to limit global warming to 1.5 degree and of sustainable development efforts. In this aspect, the global renewables and energy efficiency pledge is of critical importance in achieving net zero by 2050. And I would like also attract your attention, your kind attention to the words of previous speaker, Mr. Lacamera, when he was saying that the COP29 and upcoming COP30 are going to be the key COPs in respect of reaching 1.5 degree. So we all have to concentrate more on those issues more seriously, more effectively. Although last year we achieved record indicators in terms of investment volume and installed capacity, still, if we continue at this pace, we may be more than 30% behind our global targets. The report, as we could see now, reflects that $31.5 trillion in cumulative investment in renewables, grid storage, and efficiency is needed to meet goals by 2030. At current level, annual investments in renewables fell short of the $1.5 trillion needed each year between now and 2030. Therefore, it is necessary to increase the renewable energy capacity and investment by more than 2 times per year compared to the current indicators, and to increase the investment in energy efficiency by 7 times. In order to reach the triple target, it is important that for countries to update their renewable energy ambitions and national determined contributions, which will drive forward the COP28 agreement together with COP29 priorities and initiatives. Azerbaijan, as the first host country of COP in the region, has an ambitious agenda to deliver a balanced outcome at COP29, including the agreement of the new collective quantitative goal on climate finance, establishment of Climate Finance Action Fund, development of new NDCs, and implementation of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. The COP29 presidency, while focusing on significantly increasing the finance flow, also presents its initiatives on the green energy zones and corridors, global energy storage and grids, and hydrogen, which will pave the way for the rapid development of renewable energy potential and remove obstacles. In addition to leading the process of accelerating the energy transition in the world, Azerbaijan is also implementing large-scale national and cross-border projects that serve to increase the renewable energy potential on a national and regional scale. Last year, within the first phase of the implementation of our program till 2027, the renewable electricity capacity of our country increased by 373.6 megawatt. Establishment of green energy zones in Karabakh, Eastern Zangezur, and Nakhchivan regions of our country will be a basis for nationwide transition to net zero. We have plans to realize 7 gigawatt of green energy power by 2030, 70% of which is going to be exported. And we are presently working on the 3 large green interconnectors, Caspian, Black Sea, Europe, Central Asia, Azerbaijan, Europe, and Azerbaijan, Turkey, Europe. These green energy corridors will have a significant contribution to green energy transition in wider geography from Central Asia to Europe. And as we call those projects the Euro-Asian projects, it means indeed that we connect Central Asia with Europe, and it will play a greater role in the future because the future is for the electrification. And we have already, as I have mentioned, started to implement those projects not only nationally, but also regionally and interregionally. In conclusion, let me stress once again that Azerbaijan is committed to its green agenda as well as to the efforts to create a bridge between developed and developing countries, making COP29 another milestone in the way to achieve energy transition through international cooperation. Today's event is just the beginning of our partnership with IRENA within COP process. We believe that initiatives and events we planned in collaboration with IRENA during COP29 Energy Day on November 15 will contribute to shaping energy deliverables of COP29. Our presidency is committed to inclusivity along the process, and we look forward to welcome you all in Baku next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. And now I'm pleased to invite the senior representatives of the governments to provide high-level remarks about the implementation status of tripling renewables and doubling energy efficiency pledge. And we will start with His Excellency Ambassador Peter Mikhailko, Ambassador of European Union to Azerbaijan Republic.
Your Excellency, dear Mr. Minister Shahbazov, dear Mr. Director General of International Renewable Energy Agency, Mr. Lacamera, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to congratulate and thank the Azerbaijani COP29 Presidency on organization of this excellent pre-COP29 conference and of this important event. In March 2023, we began with a vision to once and for all define a pathway for the world to meet its climate objective set in the Paris Agreement and keep the 1.5 degree goal alive. This vision is enshrined in a concrete global goal, tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency by 2030 goals that are measurable because only what gets measured can get done. In that respect, we thank IRENA for sharing its findings in a new report titled Delivering on the UAE Consensus, Tracking Progress Toward Tripling Renewable Energy Capacity and Doubling Energy Efficiency by 2030. It reflects on our collective progress towards these global targets and shines light on what still needs to be done to meet these critical targets. At COP28, the world united behind these ambitious targets, in great part thanks to the coalition of 132 countries that supported the global pledge on renewables and energy efficiency, championed by the European Union, the United Arab Emirates COP Presidency, the IEA and IRENA. On behalf of the European Union, I would like to thank IRENA once again for a critical role they played in turning this collective vision into a global consensus. Together, we transformed an idea into a shared mission to end the era of fossil fuels and accelerate the deployment of renewables. IRENA's role will continue to be crucial moving forward to implement these ambitious targets, notably by gathering data, assessing progress, and supporting countries to develop ambitious renewable energy policies in line with global commitments. To keep the COP28 spirit alive, must accelerate the world's progress on the clean energy transition. This year's COP will be remembered based on its ability to turn the UAE consensus into concrete implementation pathways, in particular in these four areas. Planning. Governments must integrate the global ambition into national climate policies, ensuring that their NDCs reflect the targets to triple renewables and double energy efficiency by 2030. The European Union has already raised its renewable energy target to over 42% of its energy mix by 2030. I'm proud to say that in the first half of this year, 50% of our electricity generation came from renewables. But we know more work remains. Second, grids and storage. We must create favorable conditions for clean energy technologies to thrive. This means accelerating permitting procedures for renewable energy projects and creating the conditions for a greater uptake on renewables on our grids. This will require significant investments in grids and storage capacity. This is why the European Union is very much in support of the global pledge on grids and storage proposed by the Azerbaijani COP29 Presidency. Third, access to critical raw materials. Achieving our renewable energy goals will increase demand for critical minerals. I would like to mention here the recent work of the UN Secretary General's panel on critical energy transition minerals, co-chaired by the EU and South Africa. Our collaboration aimed to provide recommendations on how to build bridges and ensuring robust and equitable supply chains. We hope to see this work picked up by the global community at COP29. And mobilizing investments. The clean energy transition will require massive investments, particularly in regions where affordable capital is scarce. Public finance will play a critical role, but we must also mobilize private capital. Last year, Europe mobilized 28.5 billion in public funding to support developing countries in the fight against climate change, and 2.3 billion euros specifically for clean energy projects. But this is only part of the solution. We need private investment to flow towards renewables at a much larger scale. As we look toward COP29, let us reaffirm the EU's commitment to filling the global pledges with concrete actions and projects. The IRENA report provides a clear picture of where we stand and shows that while we are not completely off track, more efforts are still required. Together, let's ensure that our global targets, tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency, are not just aspirations, but milestones we achieve. We are looking forward to COP29 here in Baku, ready to work together for success of objectives of primary global importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. And for next high-level remarks, I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Nawal Al-Hassani, the permanent representative of UAE to International Renewable Energy Agency, the Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental, UAE.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking our host, COP29 Azerbaijan, for the great hospitality and fantastic organization. We are very, very happy to be here. It's an actual honor and privilege to be with you, joining you here in Baku as we launch this very, very important report. This event clearly reflects the urgent global effort to transform our energy systems and meet the Paris Agreement's goals. At COP28, we're very happy to have 133 countries, including the UAE, pledged to triple the global renewable power capacity by 2030, which is a very critical milestone for keeping the 1.5 threshold within reach. The challenge, as we hear and see, of doing so is very, very clear. Tripling renewable power capacity to 11.2 terawatts will require average annual addition of more than 1,000 gigawatts between 2024 and 2030, representing a compound annual growth rate of 16.4%. Yet, current national plans and targets will deliver only half of this required growth by 2030, resulting in a projected renewable capacity shortfall of 3.8 terawatts by the end of this decade. The historic UAE consensus formed from the outcomes of the first global stocktake provides a critical blueprint of how our collective actions can make up this shortfall. 10 months since COP28, the IRENA report being launched today outlines the progress made and highlights the challenges that lie still ahead. It highlights the need for stronger international collaboration, enhanced policy frameworks, and more robust financial mechanisms. The bottom line is this: we cannot achieve the tripling of renewable energy capacity without overcoming these structural challenges. This will require a comprehensive approach that includes modernizing infrastructure, streamlining permitting process, and increasing private sector involvement. Time, as we keep saying, is of the essence, and the next 6 years will be critical in reorienting our collective efforts. The UAE is very proud to have played central role in driving the renewable energy agenda. Our leadership in renewable energy is rooted in decades of strategic investment and international collaboration. Today, our installed renewable energy capacity stands at over 6 gigawatts, having doubled in just 1 year. By the end of this decade, we are on track to reach 14 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, a testament to our unwavering commitment to climate action. Central to our success is the UAE Energy Strategy 2050, which targets 30% share of clean energy in our energy mix by 2030. To support this goal, we have committed up to $54 billion in investment in clean and renewable energy. This investment is not only about reducing emissions, but also about economic resilience, job creation, and long-term sustainability. Today, I'm particularly proud to highlight that the UAE IRENA partnerships under the NDC partnership, which was signed just a few weeks ago on the sidelines of the 79th United Nations General Assembly in New York. Through this joint initiative, we aim to support 20 developing countries in raising and achieving their national determined contributions NDCs. The UAE recognizes that many nations, especially those most vulnerable to climate impacts, face significant barriers to advancing their renewable energy targets. Limited technical capacity, financial constraints, and policy challenges often impede progress. This partnership addresses these barriers head-on. By facilitating knowledge transfer and capacity building, we are helping nations develop more detailed and ambitious NDC targets with a focus on renewable energy. The focus of the latest UAE IRENA partnership on the NDCs is timely and critical. Current renewable targets and NDCs are not fully aligned with national plans. If current NDC commitments are followed, total renewable power capacity will increase to just 5.4 terawatts by 2030, far short of the required 11.2 terawatts. It is clear that if one country falls short, we all fall short. Our collective goal is to ensure that no country is left behind in the global energy transition. This partnership is about enabling real change, empowering nations to accelerate their energy transitions, and contributing meaningfully to global climate goals. As we look ahead to COP29, the UAE remains steadfast in its commitment to leading the global energy transition. We will continue to advocate for the acceleration of renewable energy deployment, the expansion of grid capacity, and the development of innovative technologies such as green hydrogen. Our journey towards net zero emissions by 2050 is a whole of a society approach, and we will work with our international partners to ensure that the energy transition is inclusive, equitable, and just. Ladies and gentlemen, the stakes are high and rising. The UAE consensus sets a clear path forward, but it is up to all of us to act collectively and collaboratively. Today's report is a reminder that while we are making progress, much work remains. We must seize the moment, leverage the power of partnerships, and drive the transformative changes needed to secure a sustainable and resilient future for all. The UAE, as always, stands ready to work with our global partners to meet these challenges head-on. Together, we can achieve the ambitious goals of tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency by 2030, and in doing so, create a climate resilient, safer world for future generations. Thank you so much.
Karim. Thank you, Dr. Nawal. And now I would like to ask to show us the video message recorded by Mr. Bruce Douglas, Chief Executive Officer of Global Renewable Alliance. Please.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is an honor for the Global Renewables Alliance to be invited to deliver a video message and be a partner in this important report ahead of COP29. We would like to extend our gratitude to all the partners, firstly to the COP29 Presidency and the Azerbaijan government for hosting these events, the COP28 Presidency for their leadership in reaching the milestone UAE consensus, the government of Brazil for hosting next year's COP30, and last but not least, IRENA for their extensive expertise and detailed data, which is the basis for this timely report. Now, this report serves as a critical wake-up call exactly 1 month before world leaders gather in Baku. The world needs to urgently translate global ambition into national plans and local projects. We now need more scale, speed, and diversity to get us back on track. While a record increase last year of 473 gigawatts might be a reason for celebration, this report reminds us that we are still off course to triple capacity by 2030. The annual renewable energy installations must more than double to reach over 1,000 gigawatts per year. There is also significant inequality in deployment across geographies. Emerging markets and developing economies saw less than 20% of renewable energy installations last year, mainly due to high financing costs. This is unacceptable, and urgent action by all stakeholders needs to be taken to address this injustice and spread the benefits of renewables to all people around the world. The Global Renewables Alliance, representing the private sector, strongly believes we can get back on track, and we are ready to play our part. I want to highlight 3 actions to rapidly accelerate the deployment of renewable energy. Firstly, we call on governments to seize the unique opportunity to set ambitious, quantifiable, and actionable energy plans in the NDCs. This will increase investor confidence and spur the clean energy transition. Secondly, over 3,000 gigawatts of wind and solar projects are currently waiting for grid connections. That is equivalent to the total current installed capacity of China. So we need more investment in grid infrastructure and storage to accommodate the growing influx of renewable energy. We applaud the COP29 Presidency for their leadership on the upcoming pledge on global energy storage and grids targets. And we call on governments and the private sector to join us in supporting that. Lastly, and possibly most importantly, we cannot overlook the crucial role that financial flows play in the energy transition. Investment needs to more than double per year, every year, between now and 2030. But not only quantity, we also need quality of financing. Reducing the cost of capital, particularly in emerging markets and developing economies, is essential to deliver a clean, secure, and just energy transition for all. This report provides clear actions and recommendations to deliver on the ambition. It is now time for action. Thank you.
Now we proceed to the interventions from the floor, and the first is His Excellency Ali Mohammed, Chair of Africa Group of Negotiators, Special Envoy of Climate Change at the Office of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Please, floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and let me begin by thanking the COP presidencies, Azerbaijan and COP28 Presidency and COP30 Presidency, and IRENA for convening this. Let me also thank IRENA for the timely update on the progress towards achieving the transformational target we set ourselves at COP28. The UAE consensus has truly ushered in a new era for global energy sector, and extend my gratitude to the COP Troika for joining forces to track this ambitious goal as a key strategy for the 1.5 pathway. While it's clear we are making progress, the pace of our action must accelerate significantly. This target can be achieved through many pathways, and we know what can and needs to be done. I would like to share a few reflections on how we should proceed in the coming years. It's essential to emphasize that our global progress towards tripling renewable energy deployment must not come at the expense of regional disparities. Often, the complexities faced by developing countries are lost when the global narrative is reduced to sound bites. We must remain vigilant in understanding the specific challenges that different parts of the world face. The energy situation in Africa are deeply concerning, and we have seen it in the report. While the rest of the world accelerates in renewable energy deployment, Africa is being left behind. You know, the terminologies like leaving no one behind, terminologies like whole of society, sound very hollow when you read reports like this one. Despite Africa's immense renewable energy potential and profound energy needs, this report highlights that investment in the continent fell by 47% in 2022 to 2023. We just had, out of the 473 gigawatts renewable energy added last year to the global mix, Africa accounted for less than 3 gigawatts. And Africa received less than 2% of the global investment in renewable energy. This must be shocking to everyone, given that Africa should be at the forefront of this global transition. It is particularly alarming that the continent with the greatest renewable potential faces a persistent lack of investment, not because of any deficiency in ambition, because African leadership has already set bold goals as contained in our Nairobi Declaration from last year's summit, where our leadership committed and said we need to increase our renewable energy potential capacity from 300 gigawatts to 230, from the current 26 to 300 by 2030. So the challenge Africa faces is not one of vision or commitment, but of access to and the cost of finance, as Bruce and others have just said. Limited financial flows, especially to the African energy sector, underscores a deeper issue. While public finance is crucial, it must be used strategically to unlock greater levels of private investment. This COP must deliver on addressing these financial barriers, ensuring that investment flows to where they are most needed is done, including where the renewable potential is most untapped. We also have we also have to make sure that initiatives and commitments already made are used as vehicles for climate action. As Francesco earlier said, last year we launched Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energies in Africa, APRA, alongside the government of Denmark and Germany and the UAE and IRENA, of course, aiming to transform how we collaborate and fast-track results aligned with African priorities. We are making good progress. However, for progress to be truly meaningful, it must advance green industrialization in tandem. The African Green Industrialization Initiative, spearheaded by Kenya, UAE, and other African countries, aims to align renewable energy deployment with broader industrial growth and job creation strategies. We will evaluate the progress of both APRA and Africa Green Industrialization Initiative at the upcoming COP29, and we hope more countries and stakeholders will join us in driving this agenda forward. As we strive towards tripling global renewable energy capacity, we must remember that success cannot be measured in aggregate progress alone. If regions such as Africa, with the most to gain from renewable energy, are left behind, then this global achievement will not represent true success if it is not proper. It is certainly not proper. It's actually shocking. The energy transition must be inclusive, ensuring that every nation has the means to participate and benefit from the clean energy future we are building. Our efforts will only be successful when they uplift all, leaving no one behind. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Mr. Mohamed, and I would like to give the floor to our last participant. This is for last intervention. I would like to invite Ms. Anne Rasmussen, lead negotiator climate on Alliance of Small Island States, Assistant Chief Executive Officer, Climate Change and Global Environmental Facility Division, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, Samoa. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues. We've been in Baku for almost 5 days now, and a lot of discussions is ongoing in the room next door. So, we're very grateful for the opportunity to be here in Baku. It's your warm hospitality. So thank you very much to the incoming COP presidency. The EOS would like to thank the IRENA and the COP28 and COP29 presidencies for organizing this informative session. We believe that tracking progress is critical for all parties to understand whether we are on track to keep the 1.5 within reach and where we need to course correct and intensify our efforts. So thank you for holding us accountable. From the many valuable insights in this report, I note that although the growth of renewable energy installed capacity was impressive in 2023 and all indicators trend upwards, we are still not fully on track towards tripling up renewable energy capacity globally by 2030. Also noting in the report is that 85% of the renewable energy capacity added was in Europe, North Africa and Asia, while Africa only saw an increase of 1.6%, and I couldn't find the figure for SIDS in the report, but I imagine it is minuscule. And it's very important that the interventions today from the AGN, from EOSIS, and I think LDCs is not here, represent those groups that most at risk of being left behind in the global energy transition. We as SIDS committed to aggressive renewable energy targets, many to 100% renewable target by 2030 or 2035, and already in our second NDCs. Although the cost of renewable energy and batteries has been consistently dropping, SIDS don't benefit from this evolution as the high cost of capital cancels out these gains, and investments are only trickling in and access to climate finance remains onerous for SIDS. We also note that the energy efficiency is often overlooked, and we see the doubling of the energy efficiency goal could deliver larger emissions reductions by 2030 than any other elements of the COP28 energy package and make the fossil fuel phase out happen decades sooner. We note, there is not a specific initiative to be launched yet COP29 on energy efficiency, although urgent action is needed across the multiple sectors, so hopefully that can be taken into account. Excellencies, colleagues, it is critical to sustain and strengthen the momentum from Dubai. The global targets we adopted are not made to stay on paper. They need to be translated into national targets, plans, and measures, and in the revised NDCs and in investment portfolios. The Dubai GST outcome is a package deal and not a menu of options, and all the elements of the Para 28 need to be effectively implemented. Hence, that why ALSIS is calling for the new NDCs to be ambitious, aligned with 1.5 and the GST outcomes. And of course, enablers are very important. Finance is the main enabler of climate action, and we are here discussing adoption of an ambitious NCQG. Many developing countries have the implementation of their NDC targets conditional to support predictability of finance, and therefore is critical. Technical assistance is needed, including enabling and regulatory environments to allow for readiness support, and how we can translate new NDCs into investment plans and pipelines of bankable projects. We welcome the work of the Troika to implement the Mission 1.5. The Troika is helpful to make progress this year, to raise ambition on all fronts, and while enabling as well implementation and creating that environment where all parties come to the table to pledge to ambition. And of course, COP29 is called the Finance COP, or heading towards an ambitious NCQG. But we cannot emphasize enough the importance of agreeing on that new finance goal to build the trust and boost implementation. However, mitigation and the 1.5 goal must remain high on the agenda. And therefore, we thank the IRENA for this timely report, but also welcome the efforts by the Troika on keeping the momentum on 1.5. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rasmussen. And now I would like to open floor for the question, comments from the audience, if you have any. Yeah, please. Please just present yourself and your organization.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Axel Michaelova. I represent the research and independent NGOs. My question would relate to how do you ensure that the capacity actually produces renewable energy? For example, I made a nice trip on the northern coast of Azerbaijan. I saw you had a lot of wind turbines installed, but half of the wind turbines didn't operate. So how would the panel see to ensure that the capacity actually is operating at and producing the electricity? Because we also saw in India that initially wind power was built, but it didn't operate properly.
Please indicate the affiliation of your question, to whom you would like to pose this question. Sorry?
Should we collect all the questions or like one by one? Okay, I can answer. Thank you so much for this. And I think it was very important to also hear the negotiating groups in terms of their views and opinions, because it's very important to take the track what is going on in the implementation track. With regard to your question, report clearly outlines that there is a difference between the increase among the different renewable types. So we are on track, on track on the solar deployment, but we're well behind on the offshore wind and onshore wind. In offshore wind, it's 6 times we're lagging behind. It's the figure showing that the cost of investment and technologies in some areas of the renewables, it's still an issue in the different parts of the world, and our region is not an exception. Sometimes it's also delays the progress, including in the wind industry. But the access and provision of finance, access to finance and provision of finance investment is very important. De-risking investments in the certain industries, including in the wind industry, geothermal, it's very important to promote those projects. And last but not least, it's also depending on the supply chain issues. It's a really very important issue. Sometimes it's not reflected in the global reports, but when you are implementing those projects, supply chains come to the fore. Thank you.
Yeah, I flew over Germany recently and I saw a lot of wind turbines that were not working. So I wonder, does that mean that the German electricity system is not working? I think basically, when you have a new technology coming into a traditional energy system, as was just explained, you have to start phasing it in a certain way. And I think with solar, it is very easy. But wind, as a technology and the integration of wind and the maintenance operation of turbines takes some time for operating procedures to be in place. We are working with Azerbaijan through Masdar also. We are investing in renewables projects here. And I think from an investor perspective, we're quite comfortable that the technology is working and it will yield very positive results and returns. I think to have an impressionistic view because one wind turbine is not turning, that the whole system is not working, is far from the truth.
Just to add, unless Mr. Lacamera doesn't have any global outlook, like regarding Azerbaijani renewable system, we have almost 55 megawatts of wind right now in Azerbaijan. And it used to be the biggest source of renewable energy before we had commissioned this solar power plant last October. So usually, I mean, it depends on the wind, it depends on maintenance issues, but usually every investor, be it government, public investor, or private, they want to maximize the usage of, right, their turbines and investment. So in any sense, in any case, I think I agree with Adnan Bey that it must be a coincidence that you saw whatever you did.
So if no further question or reflections, I would like to proceed to the closing ceremony. So for closing remark, I invite once again Mr. Lacamera to provide us with the main key takeaways from the discussion. Please, the floor is yours.
So I will leave all going back to the negotiation, so I will be very, very brief. I think that we are trying to make clear in our reports the sense and the scale of the challenges that we have. Naturally, there are some good signs. We have been coming from a G20 in Fogo de Iguaçu. Thanks to the leadership of Brazil, the G20 has been able to set a principle for fair energy transition. That's something that's been evoked many times here today. So possibly those principles may be also inspiration of your work toward the final declaration for COP 2029. I think there are excellent initiatives by the COP29 presidency with I've heard about the green corridor storage. If I can suggest the negotiator don't go for a global target, but go for a ratio. My suggestion is say 5 of new renewables, 1 of storage. A golden rule like 1 to 5, I think will serve and trying to get a compromise at the end of this exercise. So that's I hope that this report may be of inspiration. We think that we have to go to be as concrete as possible. We have tried to this report to give suggestions. We have identified the narrative of the overcoming of the 3 structural barriers. We have identified the possible enablers, but we also talk about other concrete measures. I hope that this can be of inspiration for your work. So this report should be alive. And along this year, I should try to give all the technical aspects that need of inspiration of your work. So again, I wish to thank the Troika for being working with us on this, for the Azerbaijan government to host us today in this wonderful setting. I'm impressed about this building. Anytime that I've been in Baku, I'm making photo, but from the external, now finally I am in the interior of this building. So thank you very much for your participation. It's important when you talk about operationalize what is there, is if you don't have the grid, if you don't have the connection, if you don't have storage,
could be difficult to operate any kind of plant that is renewables. Thank you again for your attention, for participation.